Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Sister Soul Sessions, where we are elevating entrepreneurs one soulful conversation at a time. I'm your host, Brittany.
And I'm your co host, B. And our next guest reminds us that travel isn't simply about where you go, it's about the stories that you bring back with you. So he's a storyteller, he is a strategist, he as well is an entrepreneur and founder of Culture Travel Media. Please help us welcome Leroy Adams.
Yes. Welcome, welcome. Thank you for joining us. And Lyra, if you would just kind of tell us, about yourself and, of course, about Culture Travels Media.
By myself. It's always so hard. I am a Southern boy. I was born in Augusta, Georgia. Shared with y'all a moment ago that I then moved to, well, my mother moved us to Miami when I was about 1. So I grew up in Miami. First time leaving the U.S. was literally in college. I was walking through the hallways at University of Houston downtown where I finished my degree. And I just saw a poster about a study abroad trip in Taiwan. And I said, you know what? That sounds like a really cool project, something that I wanted to do. I wanted to see the world. I just didn't know how that would happen. And so I joined this class. And at the end of it, we had this trip to Taiwan for about 10 days. And when I got back, I said, this is it. The trajectory was law school. And I said, you know what? Law school is not going anywhere.
Right.
And got back, and my sister said, you should do Peace Corps. She said, she worked in government at the highest level. And she said, all of my colleagues and government officials who were Black said that one of the things they wish they had done differently before they jumped into their careers was get an international experience, get exposed to the world. And so she encouraged me to do Peace Corps. I had never heard of Peace Corps before. Looked it up. Wait a minute, y'all gonna pay me to live abroad for 2 years? Bet. So I signed up for Peace Corps, and they the first 2 posts that I selected were gone. The first post was Venezuela, I think, gone. Second one was somewhere in Southeast Asia, gone. Then they emailed me and said, would you like to go to Ethiopia? Had never heard of the country before. Did not know where Ethiopia was. I was literally, when I got the email, I was at my part-time job at CarMax. I was working in the business center. And I just Googled it really quick, and it said Africa. And I was like, bet, I'll go.
Yeah, that's all you needed.
So I did the Peace Corps, and that was it, man. We'll get deeper into the story, but that sort of kicked off my work towards Culture Travels Media, which, we'll get deeper into it. But in a sentence, it was just, how do you build a travel media brand that serves our people, serves the Black community? How do you build the BET of travel? And that was what I wanted to do. That's what we did.
The BET of travel. I love that.
I love that tagline. And then what I've noticed from looking at your website, looking at your content, you're really good at storytelling. And so I just wanted to dive in to first know, how did you get into storytelling, and how did you know that was your gift?
Great question. So when I was in first grade, I won a poetry contest at if anybody that's from Miami, all my Miami folk online, y'all know about the youth fair, the Dade County Youth Fair. You know about that. And so I won a poetry contest in first grade. And one of my teachers said, you're a gifted writer. And, over the years that stuck with me, but I gained other interests as well. People that have known me growing up, they've known me for basketball. I played basketball, middle school, high school, semi-pro in China for a bit. People knew me for basketball, but I've always had this love for literature, reading, and obviously writing. And so I would journal over the years and things like that. But storytelling comes from experiences and literally sharing those experiences. And so as I sort of gathered or collected experiences over the years, I would just share them, right? Be that good or bad. When my brother passed away when I was about 18, that became an experience and a story that I had to share in certain spaces, right? And then the traveling. Once I started to do that, particularly with study abroad, I just had so many experiences and stories to share. So I would just start sharing them. I would sign up for storytelling competitions. I would journal. Like I just wanted to tell a story. I having all these cool experiences. Chinese kids licking me, Ethiopian people telling me that I don't walk like a Black American. Like this is insane. Someone needs to hear this story, so who's going to tell this story? And that over the years, I just refined it. How do you really tell a story? How do you structure it in a way that keeps people entertained and also delivers information in a tangible, digestible way? And so for me, it was just always having a love for reading, right? And writing. And then when I got to a place in my life where I realized and accepted the idea that I could make money, not just with my body, but with my mind and my hands, literally writing, then I leaned into that heavy. And it just so happened, I just also happened to enjoy it, right? And now it leads to building this travel media brand.
That is absolutely beautiful. Peace Corps. Yeah, that's not something that you hear many people in, like, my neighborhoods, things like that, were introduced to or knew about either. So that's amazing that you jumped at it, especially, being from the South, things like that, where, I know you jumped at it, kind of want to go to that, but what was the reaction of those around you? Like, what'd your mom say? I just need to know.
Tell y'all, every Black Peace Corps volunteer, every single one of us can tell you that when we told our families that, yeah, we're just going to go and move to Ethiopia, or yeah, I'm going to
Right.
go to Russia, or I'm going
Years,
to Kazakhstan or wherever. They're like, the where, what,
Yeah.
why, will you be
Mhm.
safe?
Mhm.
That was the key thing there.
Yeah.
Will you be safe? And Black families, as we all know, there's an extra layer of protection that is applied to our young people because the world is not often nice to our young, particularly here in the States. And the conversation that I had to have with my family was that, one, I feel strongly pulled to this. So please allow me to go out there and explore. You've raised me up to be this curious young man that wants to go out and explore the world. Don't block me from that, right? You've raised me to be that individual. And then two, I always brought up Dave Chappelle. I don't know if y'all remember the skit, but Dave Chappelle, he has a skit where he talks about a Black person being kidnapped abroad. And they realize like, oh, actually, and then he calls the U.S.
Yeah.
It's called the
For the
U.S.
answer, yeah.
And they hang up immediately. And Dave Chappelle's whole joke is like, bro, they're not really after us. They're after other folk. And so I joked with my mom about it. I was like, Mom, listen, ISIS is not after us. It'll be fine. It'll be
Oh, that went well, I'm sure.
ISIS is not after us. I'll be fine. But that didn't change anything, if I'm honest. It didn't change anything. My mom was still worried. My community was still worried. But what happened is when everyone saw me do it, they then said, oh, I can do it. I have a friend right now who lives in London, still to this day, because she saw me do the Peace Corps.
Wow.
She moved to London to get her master's degree. And then she started in animations and she started working for Disney and a couple other production houses. And she's still living in London today. And she always says, Leroy, I would not be here if I didn't see you do it. So I have a lot of friends today that are either traveling extensively or that live abroad. And they all credit that step they took from watching me do it. And I think that's the important thing about that particular story. Is like, people are watching you and you don't know who you can inspire to do something unless you yourself take that step.
For sure. And I love what you said about, every Black Peace Corps, a person can tell you the story, what their family said. It goes to show you, and we were kind of talking about it earlier, the cultural likeness that we all share, or the camaraderie that we have, and having that same story that we can tell about what our mama said in that time. That kind of brings me to something that you always say, culture without borders, right? Because we're kind of the same everywhere as you experience. Can you kind of tell us about that, and what does that really mean to you?
Yeah, man. When I lived in Ethiopia with the Peace Corps, I remember going to a club one night And we walk into it's like this hole in the wall spot, not too big, but packed with beautiful Ethiopian people. And I step in and I look around and I'm like, this looks and feels so familiar. You got the homies posted up on the wall who have no intention of dancing. They just want to watch everybody, right? You have people on the dance floor going at it, bodies free to express themselves through dance in the way that we do, unapologetically, right? So everything, the movements, the body language, the vibes, everything felt so familiar. It felt like I was in a club in Miami. It felt like I was in a club in Atlanta, but I was in a club in Ethiopia, a hole in the wall spot in this very small town in Ethiopia. And that was the first time I realized, like, yes, our ancestors were taken away and enslaved and brought across the Atlantic. And that's why we're here. But so much of the Black American cultural foundation, if you will, so much of who we are at a foundational level, you still see a lot of that in Ghana, in Ethiopia, in South Africa, in Nigeria, to the point where you go to these countries and you're like, damn, I am from here. Like, we are from here. How deep can I investigate this to find out more about myself? And that's what we learned through our recent project in Ghana. That sort of revelation or epiphany, if you will, was deepened through that experience. And what was started in Ethiopia, I saw that deepened in our project here in Ghana. And it's like, so to bring up Culture Without Borders, like it's an insane feeling as a Black traveler to leave the US and feel all of that emotional weight that we carry drop off of us. Frederick Douglass talked about it when he traveled to Ireland and London, this emotional, invisible weight of trauma that we carry and we don't even realize it a lot. And then we leave the US and we feel lighter. We're like, what is going on here? Well, you're not carrying all that baggage, thinking about whiteness and safety and all of those things that we carry on the daily. And then you leave, and now we have the space and the opportunity to see ourselves in a different way. And you see your culture represented across the diaspora. Yeah. And it's just the most uplifting and empowering feeling.
Yes, even hearing you talk about it, I can feel like, yeah, that weight that you do. Yeah, because you do, especially when you're in a place and you're like, oh my gosh, like everyone looks like me. That's the weirdest thing. Yeah, when
you forget you're Black. People thought it was like, forget that you're Black. I forgot I was Black in Ethiopia. I forgot I was Black in Ghana.
And they'll like tell you like what tribe you're from or something like this. They can see something else that we don't know. And they're like, oh, are you from, in my family, they're like, oh, you're from East Africa, you're from here. And I'm like, no, but maybe. I appreciate it.
We did the naming ceremony, yo. It was crazy. The naming ceremony in Ghana. Every name that each of the fellows, so you all know that we were there to document this journey of 3 teachers from Chicago, Wendell Phillips High School, the first all-Black high school in Chicago. They were part of the Tubman Project, which is a 9-month global leadership fellowship for Black educators. And at the end of it is a service learning immersive trip to Ghana. And it's like 8 days, packed itinerary. And on like day 6, we go to the Amina Castle, to the slave dungeons where our ancestors were carried. So we had that experience. And then literally 5 minutes later, we're at a naming ceremony. And every fellow's name, and our production team, we were also given names, which was cool. We didn't expect that. But every single one of us, when they gave us our names, it felt right. Like, my name is Kofi Owusu. Kofi, I was born on Friday. Owusu, the strong and determined one. And when I sat down and I got my name, I heard it and I'm like, this makes sense. This makes sense. I told the director of the program, I said, Nye, all my life I've wondered why I never give up on things. Why when a door closes, I'm gonna find another one. Why I don't take no for an answer. And to hear that your name means the strong and determined one, the one who was born with the vision of kings. It's like, okay, I'm not crazy. This is in my blood. To keep going, to battle, to fight, to persevere, that is in my blood. And now to have that piece of my identity back, the power that it gives me, and the power that the other fellows gained because their names and the meaning behind their names just made sense. It aligned with who they are at their core. So there were tears, there was joy, there was celebration. And so again, man, it's like when you get that back, which was taken away violently and aggressively, and you get that back, that is what people are afraid of. People that don't look like us.
Say that a word.
That
Definitely.
is so powerful. And before we dive even deeper with your trip, I just wanted to know, like, your work spans variously between travel, culture. You also have education in there as well. How do those worlds naturally come together?
So when I decided to create Culture Travels, first it was called the Buddy Pass. And one of the things I learned so beautifully when I was abroad was that our culture literally travels, right? And I wanted to show that. I wanted to show us, how our culture travels and impacts the rest of the world, economically, politically, culturally, pop culture, entertainment, music, dance, film, politically, Maya Angelou's of the world, the Marcus Garveys of the world, the Malcolm X's of the world, who literally traveled around the world to build a global coalition to charge the U.S. at the UN, like literally traveled and built these relationships. W.E.B. Du Bois was best friends with General Mao out of China. Like these stories, that culture, that history, right? Travel, self-explanatory. We're physically moving. And when you think about that, and you always have this idea that Black is political by nature. And travel is just another example of that, because you're talking about a group of people who could not get a passport in this country because of the color of our skin. And what does that impede? Mobility. And so you throw in travel, you have the culture element, which is, again, we're talking fashion, we're talking entertainment, we're talking politics, we're talking history, all of those subgroups under culture. And then the educational component is also elevating that history. So as an example, one project we're getting ready to start working on is about Maya Angelou's life in Ghana. She lived there for, I want to say 2 years when she was 33 years old. She wrote a whole book about it. It's called All God's Children Deserve Traveling Shoes, one of my favorite books. But in the book, there is the scene where Malcolm X comes to Ghana when he's on his global tour.
Yeah.
And they're trying so hard to get Malcolm to meet President Kwame Nkrumah. All of the black expats that live there, they're trying so hard to set this meeting up. But Kwame doesn't want to, he's hesitant because of all of the political implications that are surrounding Malcolm X at the time. So Maya says, hey, Shirley Du Bois is like best friends with President Kwame. Surely she'll connect them, but she's hesitant. So then Maya is angry as hell at Shirley, wants nothing to do with her. So long story short, Malcolm's there. He's having all these meetings. He eventually meets with Kwame. And then the next scene is Maya and Malcolm in the car. She's driving him to the airport. And in the car, he's asking her what's wrong. And she sort of hints at that she's upset at Shirley because Shirley didn't want to introduce you to her. And he says, well, my sister, did you not consider that she lost her husband a few weeks ago? Which she did. W.E.B. Du Bois had passed about a few months prior, I'm sorry. And so I'll stop it there, but that is our history. That is our education. That is global politics told through the lens of Malcolm X and Maya Angelou. That is the history of Black expats living in Ghana and activating politically, told through the lens of Maya Angelou. Yeah. So when we talk about the education component, it is elevating those histories. Martin Luther King Jr. loved the Bahamas. traveled there twice. He wrote his Nobel Peace Prize speech in the Bahamas. There is a bust of him out in the lake, in a body of water in the Bahamas, because he would just go out on fly fishing boats to just find peace and serenity away from the States. And what did that ultimately do? That led to sit-ins by the locals in the Bahamas, Black locals, who could not go to fishing clubs and certain country clubs because they were Black in the Bahamas. But here they are living through the experience of Martin Luther King Jr., who was just there to rest. But they take what they know about him and they apply it to their own lives. That is our history.
Yes.
So from an educational perspective, it's like, how do we bring those stories into the larger conversation around Black history? And then how do we package that in a way that's entertaining, maybe a documentary, maybe a short film, maybe a magazine feature, in a way that people can learn it and be inspired by it. So that is how the travel culture and the education all comes together. And then in a more practical, tangible sense, if you will, we do also have a youth travel media internship program. Well, we partnered with a local nonprofit organization called the Lemonade Circle. And every summer they have a content queens program. Basically, young high school girls learn how to create content, photography, video, things like that. And so we said, hey, we're always on the road for projects. What if one of the young ladies who graduates from your program, she joins us in our internship program, and they will execute projects here in San Antonio, but then when we travel, they come on the road with us. So they get that real world work experience. Like, these are actual campaigns that have dollar amounts to them, that have deadlines to them. She's in a room with board members, directors of marketing. Like, this is not, hey, just come and shovel some papers. No, baby girl, we're executing high-level 6-figure, 7-figure campaigns and get this work. So when you get out there into the real world, your portfolio is stacked. No one could ever tell you you can't do something, or you're not prepared, or you don't have the experience, right? So that, in a more practical sense, that's what the educational component also looks like.
That's absolutely beautiful. And thank you so much for sharing the history that you just gave us. It really put into perspective the ways that we've been cut off from just knowledge, wealth. I mean, those go hand in hand, obviously. But like you said, just with Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. going to the Bahamas, them just seeing him. So imagine what that means every time we go somewhere. So you being in the Peace Corps, like, imagine what that meant. Them saying you don't walk like an American. Like, what do you mean? Like,
yo, that was
first
wild.
of all, there's New York, there's the South, but just hearing the stories and knowing what that power looks like when we're just able to connect. Seeing, like, where you came from, like you said, the naming ceremony. I definitely want to dive into that, but I'll hold off, because that's like my favorite thing that you're talking about when we were talking. But you have traveled so many places. You've had these experiences, other than the Ghana experience, which I knew was, so transformational for you. What experience did you have that completely changed how you see people?
Man, I bounce between these two stories all the time, because they were also the reason why I started this. And I think these two experiences made me broaden my viewpoint of how I saw the world and I saw people. So the first one, real quick, was Ethiopia. And it was being told that I did not walk like a Black American. And I asked them, and so again, just for context, Peace Corps, it's in Ethiopia. I'm in the northern part of Ethiopia, in the Tigray region, in a small town called Ndabaguna. I was the first foreign volunteer there ever. I broke open the site. But it took less than 2 days for them to realize I was American once I started talking. So, that was before you start talking, they're like, oh, my brother, one of us. And then you start talking, it's like, still my brother, but also. And so I'm there, we're in the teacher's lounge, and they say, you don't walk like a Black American. And I say, well, show me what a Black American walks like. So like 3 of the Ethiopian teachers got up and they pretended to walk like their pants were hanging off their butt.
Oh, okay.
And I'm like, what are y'all? Do you
They
think
saw Boys in the Hood a little bit. Okay.
they're at this small TV, black and white screen?
Mhm.
And they're like, you know the guy, and I didn't have locks at the time, I had a very short cut. You know the guy with the locks and the diamond teeth and I'm like, Lil Wayne?
Yeah.
They're like, yeah. It's like, bro, not all people, not Lil Wayne don't walk like that. For real. But it forced me to sit back and accept, one, we were not the authors of our stories or our identity abroad,
That part.
and that the rest of the world was getting a very tailored version
Yes.
of who Black people are. And they acted accordingly because of that. And then fast forward a year later, I'm living in China, and I started out as a teacher first. And I'm going over the ABCs with my first grade class, and I'm in front of the classroom, and little student Apple walks up to the front of the classroom. She stands there for like 2 seconds. I'm like, what is this girl doing today? And she looks at my arm and she licks me from my wrist to my elbow twice.
Okay.
And I'm like, I walk out of the class. I call a homie who was working at a different school. I'm like, bro, are your students licking you? He's like, yeah, man. Somebody told him I was a chocolate bear. And so I'm like, bro, I'll call you back. I walk into my office. I ask my Chinese colleagues, did anybody tell my students this? What busha? We would never, Leroy. We would never. So it turns out Apple's parents told her that I was a chocolate bear because Apple would always cry when it was time to come into my classroom. She had never seen a dark-skinned person before,
wow.
let alone had one as a teacher. And then I leave that space and I walk out into the mall because the school was in the mall, and I walk into a mall. And for whatever reason, man, these advertisements stood out more prominently today because I had seen them for months. I had been there, for at least for about a month up until that point. So I had seen them often, but I never really paid attention to it. But with the context of Apple licking me and her parents telling her why I'm dark skinned, I walk out and I see skin lightening advertisements promoting, hey, you can lighten your skin color. And I'm like, ugh. Again, this idea that Black people are to be feared is not something that Chinese people woke up with one day. This is something that they've learned through certain types of media that has been imported into their country. Not to say that they don't have their own caste system and things like that, but this is important to the country. So again, my perspective of like, okay, how do people see me? How do people see the world? How does media work on a global scale to structure identities and then structure how people think about other types of people, in this case, Black people? Right. So those two experiences, I think, most importantly, really forced me to sit back and say, how am I viewed across the world? How are Black people viewed across the world? Who owns that narrative? And then how is it impacting how people see us, how they do business with us, how they create with us, how they engage with us? And if the narrative doesn't accurately reflect who we are, then somebody got to do something. And so that was one of the reasons why we have Culture Tribes.
Do you feel like that gave you, or made you feel pressured to prove that
No.
Black people were okay?
Oh, actually, it created an opportunity.
Okay.
So after Apple licks me, and I call my homeboy, and I go and I see all these skin lightening cream ads. I went back that night. I went back home and called a friend of mine and said, man, I had this crazy experience, bro. Like, we can't be the only one. So we got together, one of my first business partners, we got together over a game of chess, as we would do. And we talked about creating what eventually became Black Gen, which was short for Black Genius. And the whole idea was, how do we create a space where creatives and artists can come together and reshape how we think about each other, really bust myths, and not just Black artists, Korean artists, Chinese artists, Ghanaian artists, Senegalese artists, Venezuelan artists, like the whole gambit, right?
Yeah.
So we started Black Gin and ran it for 2 years, executing dozens of events across Beijing, across Shanghai, got featured in magazines, had a couple artists from the States come to perform at our event. So I didn't feel like I needed any pressure to prove myself. I just saw an opportunity. I was like, man, we could really do something cool here because we're not the only ones having this experience. And we did it.
Yeah, truly removing the veil of that propaganda machine that we all go through about other cultures, other races, and especially ours. So that's amazing. You guys got to build that. See, I didn't even know that part of it. Okay. I didn't know that. That's awesome.
That's awesome. So throughout your travels, throughout your experiences, you've obviously have learned a lot about yourself, about our culture, as well as just other cultures in general. Throughout your travel, would you say that made you a better entrepreneur?
Oh, hell yeah. Sorry, y'all. Excuse my. Yes.
Hell yeah.
That's made me a better entrepreneur because travel forces you to become a problem solver sometimes.
Yeah.
And entrepreneurship is just problem solving. That's really all it is. I mean, you
Yeah.
come up with an idea, you want to build this idea and bring it into the world. And along the way of doing that, there are problems you have to figure out how to solve, how to find money, how to find talent, how to find resources, things of that nature. So travel is no different, from a sort of a logistical standpoint. If flight get canceled, all right, we got to problem solve this. Flight get delayed, problem solve this. Luggage get lost with all the production equipment, we got to problem solve this, right? And then being on the ground, right? I didn't know how to speak Tigrinya or Amharic. I didn't know how to speak Chinese, Mandarin, right? There's a lot of places I've been where I did not know the language, but I was still able to create a business. I was still able to go to the grocery store and buy food. I was still able to, when I was single, date, right? And so you have to, travel forces you to problem solve and to figure things out as you go and accept the fact that you don't know everything and that you are small in this grand world. And that's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. So travel has certainly helped me become a better entrepreneur. And it's like now I can execute campaigns internationally. I can go to Ghana and execute a campaign. I can go to Pakistan, which we almost did, and execute a campaign. Because I've been exposed to so many different types of people and cultures. But at the end of the day, we're all human. I know that sounds cliche, but it's like at the end of the day, we all really want the same thing. Safety, pursuit of happiness, all of those things. And so if you can get comfortable with being in environments that are not tailored for you, then you can work anywhere in the world. And that's what travel has given me the ability to do.
Beautiful. Yes, for sure. And with that, because you are in these spaces, what responsibility comes with telling someone else's story, being in their backyard?
One of the greatest lessons I think I learned in Peace Corps, and what's interesting is I don't think white volunteers understood this as quickly as Black volunteers did. Because when you grow up white in the US, your education teaches you that you are the default.
Yes.
That you are the savior, right? Throughout history, there's plenty of narratives of white nations, European nations, colonizers going to Christianize or to save the savage people, right? And so that is embedded within their psyche. As opposed to in my experience as a Black volunteer, when I go to Ethiopia and I see, okay, maybe that could be different, maybe that could be different, I'm not going to verbalize that because this is not my home. Okay. And so one of the things Peace Corps taught us that we literally have to do once we're on the ground is conduct like a needs assessment. But a part of that needs assessment is you have to go out into the community and talk with people. I had to talk with teachers. I had to talk with students. I had to talk with local politicians in Ntibaguna to understand what their needs are. I didn't come in and say, hey, man, y'all need more classrooms. Or, hey, man, y'all need No, it's not my home. I don't know this place. I don't know this culture. When we were recently in Ghana, our guide just said something so beautiful, man. We asked him about the president of Burkina Faso banning NGOs, which are non-government organizations,
Yeah.
from taking pictures of what looks like desperate African children,
Yes. Yeah.
right? That is completely banned in Burkina Faso. And so our guide, Kwabena, tells us Africans celebrate that because these people do not know what they're doing when they go into these communities. They take these pictures and they use them to fundraise, but they don't know that they're taking a picture of a young child who's literally helping their parent at the fish market so that he can also learn that trade.
Yeah.
And what looks like poverty to you is actually may not be poverty to them. It's all relative. And so, but they don't go in and ask these questions. They don't go in and talk to the community members. They don't go in and talk to the chiefs of the villages, the queen mother of the communities. They don't do that. Peace Corps taught me to do that. So now when Culture Travels goes abroad to do different campaigns and stories in different parts of the world, we talk to the people. We do our best to understand their culture, their stories, and how they want those stories told. Do mistakes happen? For sure. But we don't go in with this entitlement of, I know what you need and I know how to tell your story. That's not a value at Culture Travels. And so we ask people, we talk to people, we get to know them, and then the story starts to form itself.
And the respect that you definitely intentionally always think about. I can hear it every time, you went into somewhere, like you held reverence for their culture and really learning and understanding. So I love that you guys have that in the Peace Corps. I mean, it sounds like that's just something that we should be learning in basic travel. We wouldn't have that stigma all the time when people are like looking at your passport color, like, well, hold on, I'm nice, I'm good. So I love that that's the part of, just the everyday training and understanding of where you are.
Would you say, so obviously you go into these communities and you learn about their needs. Would you say that it helps for people to be more intentional and to have empathy when they go into other communities and other places where they travel?
Absolutely. And I think for entrepreneurs, that's an important empathy. For anyone, empathy is an important characteristic to sort of adopt and mold and lean into, right? The more you can understand the experiences of those around you, the better human being you will become, the better person you'll become. And from an entrepreneurial standpoint, the more you can empathize with the people that you work with, both internally within your business and within your company, and then externally as well, it allows you to be a step ahead in identifying what their needs may be and how you can serve them, especially for partners and clients. Like if I can sit and hear you share what your needs are and what your concerns are and what the pain points are in your life, then I can serve you better. If I can understand the pain points of the audience that we're trying to talk to at a deep level, beyond the shallow of their favorite color is blue, their favorite shoes are Jordan, sure, but why is their favorite color blue? Oh, because they grew up on the beach near Miami. Okay, so let's tap into that. Oh, their favorite shoes are Jordans. Why are their favorite shoes Jordans? Oh, because when he was a ball player in high school, he scored 30 points and he was wearing Jordans.
Yeah.
Right? So empathy allows you to do that. And as an entrepreneur, if you can master that, then you can serve people better.
Yep, know your customer for sure. Yeah. All right, B's favorite part of the interview.
What? You want me to ask the last
Soul
question?
sessions. No, soul sessions, confessions.
Soul
Soul
sessions, confessions.
confessions. Yes. So this part of our live stream is where we ask you a question. You just tell us the first thing that comes to mind.
All right, I'll do my best.
So, all right. Your favorite country?
Ethiopia.
Okay. Passport stamps or souvenirs?
Oh, souvenirs, travel patches specifically.
Okay, yeah.
All right. Morning flights or red eyes?
Ooh. How early in the morning are we talking? Because I love morning
I'm the
flights.
first flight.
Man, let me tell you. Now that bro's a little older, them 5 a.m. flights ain't working for your boy no more. Um, but I'll still say morning, so long as it's like past 8 a.m.
All right. One meal everyone should try abroad.
One meal everyone should try abroad is whatever the signature cultural meal is of that destination. So,
Okay.
like I said, Ethiopia is my favorite place, favorite country to visit. If you're not eating injera with some tips, you're just not doing it right, yo. So whatever the
Okay.
cultural meal, even if you don't like it, because I didn't like injera at the beginning, but if you don't like it, just give it a try. It may change your mind.
Okay. I'm gonna have to put that down. Beach or city?
Beach. Water is my spirit element.
Mhm.
Love it. Okay, and last one. What's always in your carry-on?
Before or after I got married. If it was before I got married, what was always in my carry-on was maybe a journal. I'm journaling, right? Writing.
Okay.
Now that I am married, my wife always finds a way to leave a note in my carry-on or my backpack.
I love
That
that. I
I
love
get to write
that. That is, hey, yes,
Right.
that is absolutely beautiful. Yeah, that's beautiful. Now, we ask this question of every guest. We like to give you a little time. If you could give a title to your memoir of your journey thus far, what would it be and why?
Mm. Damn, that's a good one, y'all. That is a good
I'm really excited to hear yours. Yes,
Right.
because
I love it.
like,
I'm waiting.
remember, you and your wife will be traveling soon, so you gotta, no pressure.
I I think I think it'll probably be something like Leroy, the stories carried around the world, or something like that. I'm also, they memoirs typically carry you have your first name attached to it, but I do think it'll certainly, which goes without saying, I do want this memoir to speak to the transformation that happened within me, the all of it, spiritually, mentally, physically. So I do want that somewhere like in the title because it. I'm I'm just not the person that I was before I started traveling. And Muhammad Ali has this great quote where he's like, if you think the same way you did at 40 that you did at 20, then you haven't lived.
Yes.
And I certainly don't think the same way I did at 20, now at 37. So there's just so much transformation. And so I do want it to speak to that some way in the title. So as soon as I have it, y'all will be the
Okay.
first.
Well, you're gonna be writing it soon. I already know, so it's okay.
Right.
Now you're gonna be getting to it. Lyra, we want to thank you so much for reminding us that every destination has a story. If you could just take a few moments to let our audience know how to reach you, what's next, and anything that you would like to tell our
Yeah.
young people, especially about traveling.
Yeah, thank y'all. Well, thank y'all for the opportunity, man, to chat. And again, when we do this again, we'll bring y'all in the
Oh, we
studio
will. Yes, we will be doing this
Okay.
again.
for sure, man. But thank y'all for the opportunity to chat. It's so rare that I get a chance to do this because I'm always in build mode.
Yeah.
And so an opportunity to sit back and just sort of reflect on the journey and what I'm doing and things of that nature is great. In terms of what's next, we just wrapped up the St. James and Me documentary here in San Antonio, where for those who don't know, 300 formerly enslaved black people after the Emancipation Proclamation founded the first St. James and Me church here in San Antonio. No one knew it was there. It was found during the construction process for a different project. They came in and said, hey, y'all, we found this cornerstone of the first African Methodist Episcopal Church, founded by 300 formerly enslaved Black people. Culture Travels, can y'all tell the story? So we produced a documentary on that, and we're getting ready to do a screening for that, a very small, intimate screening for that here in San Antonio in September. Our next magazine issue comes out this Friday. So we publish every 3 months a Black travel magazine. And so issue 6 is coming out. So we're over that 5-issue milestone. Y'all can see them like on the wall there. But issue 6 will come out this Friday, and that will feature the St. James and Me story along with part 1 of our Ghana documentary. And so segue into that, we just got back from Ghana. We're in post-production on that documentary. We plan to screen that across 4 cities, so San Antonio, Austin, New York, and Chicago. We also plan to be at South by Southwest in March, where we're going to be on a panel with a bank in Africa that specifically targets creatives across the diaspora. So our goal there is to start to connect folks of the diaspora who are creatives like y'all, like myself, with funding resources on the continent, because they exist and they're looking for us and they have money to support projects.
That's amazing.
We'll be with them at South by Southwest doing that. And then, just to wrap it up, man, fingers crossed that we get this road trip campaign with Visit Richmond. And then also fingers crossed that we run it back again with Emma Waterways and their Soulful experience, which is basically a riverboat cruise experience that exposes you to Black history and culture around the world. So we worked with them last year in the Netherlands and Belgium, documenting Black history there. And so now it looks like we'll run it back with them in October to do Vietnam and Cambodia. So, production after production. So we got some productions we just wrapped up with Ghana and St. James and Me, and we're slowly going into the others with the Road Trip Project, Vietnam and Cambodia, and then South by Southwest. All of this, folks can follow on our Instagram, Culture Travels Media. I'm Leroy Adams on Facebook, TikTok, Culture Travels Media, YouTube, Culture Travels Media. Branded consistent, y'all. Branded consistent, Culture Travels Media. And then our newsletter, I'll share the link with y'all if anyone wants to sign up for our free newsletter, travel information, stories, updates on our projects, what city we're heading next, things like that. Exclusive access to some of our content that we don't share publicly. And so I will share the link to our Culture Travels Media weekly passport newsletter with you all, but folks can tap in that way.
Yes.
Amazing. Great things in store, great things in the works. I love to see what you're doing. Yes, I definitely want to see the history here. We were wondering about San Antonio, so I'm really excited for that. Again, thank you guys so much. And remember, everyone, every story has the power to bring people together, especially ours. Again, thank you so very much, Leroy, for joining us for another soulful conversation. Sis, if you want to go ahead and end it.
Yes, of course. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Whether you stayed the entire time or just hopped in, we greatly appreciate your continued support. Please be sure you check out Leroy. He has some really dope projects coming up. He has some current ones that you can view. Please support him in his initiatives and his projects. With that being said, Soul Family, thank you very much again, and we'll see you next time.
Have a good night.
Good night.